What's going on, folks? This is the Leafs Convo podcast for Vanguard Northeast Realty in Scarborough, vanguardne.ca. It's a 5-minute pregame. We're looking ahead to Game 2 between the Bruins and Leafs. The series tied at 1. No Nazem Kadri for tonight. We know that for a fact, right, Mike? Oh, hello, by the way.
Hello, Norman. Yes, Nazem Kadri was in New York at the NHL Department of Player Safety for his in-person hearing. The announcement apparently will not be shortly before game time. I don't know how to interpret that, whether that's encouraging or discouraging, but he's at least going to miss tonight. I suspect he will not play for the rest of this series after being suspended for 3 games last year. It's more than likely that he'll get suspended for 4 or 5 games. So I think that they better get used to being without Nazem Kadri for a while.
Reading one of the headlines from Leafs Lunch, Craig Button says the Leafs had a big advantage. Kadri took it away with his selfish act. Craig, you got to cool down there, bud. Nazem Kadri was pretty much the only guy doing anything physical in Game 2. Got the stick up in Jake DeBrusk's face. That's unfortunate. But a selfish act, like we know the guy has trouble with impulse control. And it's just not like he had a hell of a lot of backing in a game where physically the Leafs were being dominated. So selfish act, I disagree with that. It was an unfortunate act. Costly act, but selfish. Come on.
Well, I'll take a middle ground here. You could see what the Bruins were doing on Saturday. They were goading Kadri. They were paying special attention to DeBrusk, hitting him in the first period, the knee on knee in the second period. Charlie Coyle sort of jabbing him in a scrum near the net, giving them the smile. Like they knew that their plan was to get Kadri to do something stupid. And the thing is, what Kadri needs to do as a veteran player is to not do something stupid. And unfortunately, he did. Now, I don't think he did it out of like selfish means. I think he was trying to support his teammate. But in the end, they are not going to have his services. Yeah. And in the end, that's a plus for the Bruins and a minus for the Leafs.
When you play that kind of game, which we expected him to play, you toe the line. He crossed the line. And the NHL is about to slap him down. The question is now, instead of this idea that the Leafs have lost the big advantage, it's still 1-1 going back into Toronto. How do the Maple Leafs make do without number 43? Who plays center? Who picks up the physical slack? And here's another question. Are the Leafs as a group, all of them on the ice tonight, ready to contend with Boston in Game 2, going to be pissed off about how things went down in Game 1? Never mind Jake DeBrusk. Never mind Nazem Kadri. Are they just going to be pissed off with their effort as a whole and bounce back?
Well, for them to win, they're going to have to repeat what they did in Game 1, which is, try to ignore what Boston is doing and forge ahead, play the offensive game, stretch pass, use their speed, all those things. Boston, if you play Boston's game like it was in Game 2, they're going to lose because they can't play that game. They're not a physical team. They're a skilled team. Their power play is their toughness, as Mike Babcock has said, and their power play, I think, is over.
Mike, can I just interrupt you real quick? In the early going of tonight's Game 3, how can the Leafs redirect the game flow to where they want it to go and avoid going down the road of Game 2?
They have to play with speed. They have to be able to outskate the Bruins. They cannot muscle up and try to beat the Bruins into the glass. They don't have the personnel to do that. They have to play the speed game, play the skill game, and take advantage of a shorthanded Bruins defense who, Torrey Krug is probably going to play, but I don't think he's going to be 100% after that hit from Jake Muzzin. They're going to make a change on the bottom pairing. They're probably going to load a bunch of minutes onto Chara, McAvoy, and Brandon Carlo. So that means you have to tire them out and make them chase you. And the Leafs can do that. They have enough speed. Now, you mentioned replacing Kadri. The replacement for Kadri up the middle is William Nylander. I think, and we know that Babcock doesn't have a lot of confidence in Nylander, especially as a center. So I think more of the burden is going to be on John Tavares and more specifically Austin Matthews. They're going to need Matthews to kick it into gear. I don't think he isn't trying. Of course he's trying, but I think they need him to be more successful. He only has 2 points in 9 games against the Bruins in the playoffs, and they need him to score if they have a chance to win.
We're still dealing with a group of young players who are maturing. And if Austin Matthews is down on himself because things aren't going right for him, and that's affecting his play, that's a lack of maturity. He'll get there, but are we going to see a whole new adult player emerge within this series? It's possible, but it better happen relatively soon. Back on Kadri being gone and Nylander replacing him, it's ironic. The player who is conditioned and appropriate for this series has taken himself out of the series, and the guy who is terrific when it comes to just flat out skill, but he has no physical element to his game, is now going to be relied heavily upon. This is an opportunity for number 29 to take his game to another level and make believers out of a lot of the fan base who thinks he doesn't give a shit and he doesn't try hard, which is not true. And maybe play his way back into the hearts of these people, and who knows, make a case for not being dealt in the offseason. Just a few more points, then we got to go.
I think that if you ask Mike Babcock secretly what he hopes out of William Nylander tonight, it's do no harm. He's playing him with Patrick Marleau, who he trusts, even though he is showing his age recently, and Connor Brown, who's one of his trusted two-way players. I think if he gets a do no harm out of William Nylander in that line, he will accept it because he'll hope that the top two lines will carry the offensive weight. I'm actually a little bit surprised that they didn't go with Marleau up the middle, but it may be a commentary on the fact that he's slowing down and he's a veteran guy, and they think that the speed of Nylander can make a difference. But, I mean, we'll see what happens.
All these crazy storylines about Kadri having played his final game as a Maple Leaf, like what he did to Jake DeBrusk, is the worst thing that's ever happened in playoff hockey. There's video of Brad Marchand handing guys their lunch, and he was either suspended minimally or not at all. So I got an idea. How about the Maple Leafs kick it into gear, take this series deep, win the series, and get number 43 back? I hope, Mike, that this isn't just about posturing, ping pong, back and forth. The Leafs type of game, Bruins type of game, Leafs type of game, Bruins type of game. Then we go to Game 7, and it's going to come down to a battle of intestinal fortitude, because I guarantee you that Game 7 is not going to be a battle of skill. It's going to be a battle of will. Final point goes to you.
Focus on what's going to happen to Kadri after the season. There's no point in really doing it right now, and I don't think anybody with the Leafs is thinking about that. So the talk of, will he be traded? Is this his last game? I think is sort of, off point. You've basically got to focus on the here and the now, and that's Game 3, and that's whether the Leafs can grab hold of this series and take control of it, playing the way they did in Game 1, or if they sort of cower in the corner like they did in Game 2.
I always tell you have the last point, but I end up chiming in to finish it off, but heck, why not? The idea of Kadri having played his last game, again, ridiculous. You're telling me he's going to be suspended for the entire playoffs? No. He's not. So win the series and get him back in. And for those who are really pissed off at him, well, guess what? Number 43 is gone now. You think he's such a liability? You don't have to have him in your lineup. He's suspended. So William Nylander will take his place. If you think that's an upgrade, we will find out if it's indeed that upgrade tonight. Michael, enjoy the game. OGs, converts, all the thousands who are new to the podcast, thank you very much for all of your recent support. Stick around a while, like and subscribe to us. We won't let you down. Michael, take it easy, bud.
Thanks, Norman.